Thanks for joining me, David. And your firm has recently changed names, actually, to Advisors to Growing Business.
That's correct, yes.
That sounds like it gives a good indication as to what you're all about. What I want to do really is just go through some of the main things around why you chose to do outsourcing and why you chose Boss and what kind of results you've had. So to kick off, can you tell us a bit about your firm?
Okay, the business was established in November 1999, so we've been operating for almost 13 years. When I first started out, we started out predominantly or with a focus on doing business advisory work, and then along with that came the compliance part. Probably after about 3 to 4 years with 2 to 3 staff, and we started to have some issues with staff turnover. And it was really hard that you'd spend your time training the people up, they'd get used to the work you want them to do, all your systems, all your approaches, and then they'd sort of go, thank you for that, and they'd leave and go to another firm. It was really hard from a compliance perspective just to get the work done. So now we've got 2 staff, accounting staff internally, and about 1.5 non-accounting staff.
Yeah. Okay. Great. And why did you choose Boss?
Well, it sort of links to the issues we're having with retaining staff here, and then trying to find good staff in the local area. Yeah. And knowing you need to do the compliance work, and then not having the staff to do it, we just saw this as an option to be able to see it, so we trialled it, and we were quite pleased with how it worked. We dropped out for a couple of years because we found local staff, and that was fine. And then with a few more staff changes, we thought, well, we'll go back to the idea of engaging Boss in terms of outsourcing the compliance work.
Yeah, okay, fine. So it's a definite strategy for you outsourcing the compliance work now?
Oh, it is, for sure. And going forward, that's what we'll do. We need to keep a couple of staff locally, and that's fine. Some of it is on the ground work, but a lot of the compliance work, as we continue to grow and as that continues to build up, we'll continue to build up the outsourced resources. Yeah. And even, as we were sort of talking the other day, in terms of the bookkeeper role, now with having more online internet-based accounting systems, that bookkeeping work can effectively be done anywhere. And so provided we've got the people trained up in Xero and SASU and the other programs, I'm looking at outsourcing that. So going forward, yes, it's a definite strategy in terms of using the outsourced resources. Yeah,
great. Okay. So how did you go about setting things up with Boss? Are there any particular things that you needed to set up at the beginning or get orchestrated during the first few months?
Well, I suppose we were pretty fortunate because for a long period of time we'd been moving down the path of paperless office. So we already had scanning capabilities, and our processes were pretty much aligned to doing things online and electronically. So we didn't have to make many changes in that area. We have had a few IT issues around slow internet access, so we have purchased a terminal server, and that seems to have fixed up most of those problems. But I think what you need to do with anything like this is you look at your processes and how you can best do them efficiently. Yeah. And what we actually do is when we look at it, we treat the Boss individual as being part of the Maitland Partners team, one of the staff. They're just not physically located here. And so that our processes, whether someone does the work here or whether it's outsourced, the processes are exactly the same. So you've got to make sure your processes align to be able to do all that, and then have the ability to be able to scan the information through on a timely basis and get that across, and have the ability to be able to respond to questions also in a timely manner. Yeah. And to a certain degree, the time difference actually helps that, because with India, that the work done late of an evening when we're not here, means that when we come in the morning, we've got queries, so we can answer those queries up front, and then they're ready to go when the boss person gets in about 1 o'clock our time.
Yeah, great. Okay. You raised some interesting points there, because I do know that the clients that get the most out of outsourcing definitely collaborate a lot more, and I think communicate a lot more with their accountants. And you raised the point, if you're treating them as one of your staff members and have them engaged in that way, then you definitely get more out of it. So
yes.
Yeah, that's good that you raised that point. Okay, so what have been the benefits of using Boss?
Well, I think the main benefit is just being able to get the work done.
Yeah.
That having the staff there available to do the work, and as I sort of mentioned earlier, that part of our growing strategy is to increase our outsource component in being able to do that compliance work.
Yeah.
So that's the main benefit. Overall, I think we just see it as having another staff member, and just being able to have that reliability in relation to that staff member, always being there and being available.
Yeah. Okay. Great. All right. And what is your boss accountant like?
Excellent. Bernard's great. He's got a sense of humour, and it takes a while to sort of sink into that. Technically, that he's strong, he's efficient. You need to make sure that you give the right parameters for him to work under. Otherwise, typically, and we've had this experience before with someone else, that they tend to get or can get too locked into the detail.
Yeah.
So you need to set the parameters around how much work they want to do, you want them to do in particular areas.
Yeah.
But, you build up a relationship with them, and you find out more about them and their personal lives, and they sort of slowly open up to you, and it's great.
Yeah, great. Okay, yeah. It's an interesting point. What you've described there is, setting parameters, but also is a bit of relationship building, isn't it? Over time, you get to know someone because they're a dedicated accountant, and it just helps with the workflow. Do you think that's true?
Very much so.
Yeah.
And it was interesting, like when we set our team goals and going around all the staff members, and Bernard's goal was, for this next 12 months was to make me happy. So to do the work to the standard where there'd be no changes, and effectively make me happy. And that's marvellous.
Yeah, interesting goal. Okay. All right. Have there been any problems along the way?
There's always a few challenges. I think one of the first ones is the cultural aspect, and that you need to be aware of the cultural differences.
Yeah.
And by that I mean in terms of possibly work ethic, the attention to detail in terms of professionally wanting it to be right to the nearest cent, whereas we add more of a materiality aspect into it.
Yeah. In
terms of yes, the GST might be out by $100, but if you're talking over $600,000 in turnover, to be out by $100, you don't need to spend a day to find out where it goes wrong.
Yeah.
So it's understanding those differences both professionally and from a cultural viewpoint.
Yeah.
The other main challenge was just making sure that our internal processes were consistent, so that the processes were followed, so that the work would get done and collated, and or the information collated, so that it would all there ready to go, and not having missing information. Because part of our process is to make sure that we've got all the information in before we start the job.
Yeah.
And there's been a few occasions where that hasn't been the case.
Okay. Yeah.
The other challenges, every now and again, speaking with Bernard, language-wise, sometimes it's just difficult to pick up, what he's saying, getting through the Indian in the discussion.
Yeah.
But a couple of repeats, and you understand what's being said.
Yeah. great. Okay, yeah, no, that gives a really good all-round feel, I think, for sort of what is the case, and how you have to handle some things. You just have to work on that. And I know that I had the same trouble sometimes when I talk to an Indian. I use words that they're not used to, and I have to rephrase it in a different way because it's, to me, I just use Aussie or British language, So, yeah, okay. All right. So, lastly, would you recommend Boss as a service?
Absolutely. We had a look at a couple of different ways of doing it before we sort of engaged Boss. And the two main ways of doing it is one where you basically send the work over into a pool type arrangement, and the work gets done and it gets sent back and hopefully to the standards. The issue that we saw with that model is that you don't really have that control over quality, and you don't have necessarily the ability to be able to apply your own processes to that situation. Whereas the Boss model, where you engage an actual individual that works for you, I believe is a far better model, and it works very well. And you get to put your own processes in place, your own formats that you have with accounts, the way that you want things done, additional analysis that you want done, all those sort of things that you have control over, so that certainly the Boss model and the way it works with Boss is fantastic, and I'd highly recommend people looking into it. It does provide a great solution.
Yeah. Okay. Great. All right. Well, fantastic. I think you gave a great insight there, perhaps better than I could in many ways. So it's definitely interesting to see it from your side, and good to hear that it's all working very well. Okay. Well, thanks very much, David. Thanks for your time. I appreciate that.
Pleasure.
All right. And obviously, we look forward to many years ahead of us working together.
Yep. Very much so. Thanks, Lee.
All right.